Welcome to San Antonio's Influence Magazine show. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher. Today's guest is the highly accomplished, supercharged leader and CEO of Centro San Antonio, CENTRO, San Antonio. Those are the folks you see on the streets downtown, cleaning up, getting it ready for special events or just the next day. Their leader is Trish DeBerry. If you didn't know, now you know. When we come back, we'll have a conversation with Trish. Stay tuned.
As I developed an appreciation for my personal originality and uniqueness, I began to love the fact that I was different. As I uncovered my individual preferences and my interests, I became comfortable with the real me.
Presented by Cedric D. Fisher and Company Publishers. In a world where identity is often challenged and cultures collide, one woman's journey shows us the power of resilience, self-discovery, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Born in Hong Kong and raised in America, Helen Yee faced the struggles of finding her place in a new land. Confronted by racism, cultural differences, and personal adversity, Helen's story is one of courage and determination. Inspired by her grandfather's legacy of integrity and entrepreneurship, Helen embarked on a journey of self-discovery. She learned to defend herself against all odds, even fighting off an armed carjacker and escaping with her life. Through the discipline of martial arts, music, and entrepreneurship, Helen found a way to reconnect with her heritage and discover her inner strength. She became a successful business owner and a professional musician, proving that it's never too late to pursue your dreams. I Belong Here is a powerful memoir that takes readers on a journey from the streets of Hong Kong to the heartland of America. It's a story of family, friendship, and the unbreakable bonds that tie us all together. Helen's journey will inspire you to embrace your own uniqueness, face your challenges head-on, and find your place in the world. It's a testament to the human spirit and the power of believing in yourself. I Belong Here, Living the Life I Was Born For in America by Helen H. Yee. Available now wherever books are sold. Discover the extraordinary story of a woman who found her voice and her place in the world.
Tricia, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
So obviously a lot of folks in town know who you are, but for some of the folks in our viewing audience, let's go to the basics and go back to your background. Just share with us your background.
Yeah, I went to high school here, graduated from Churchill High School.
Churchill, okay.
Two different colleges, UTSA, for 2 years, and then graduated from Trinity University. So my senior year at Trinity University, I did an internship at Kins TV, a local CBS affiliate here. And really, I mean, out of that internship, I got hired. And so I started producing weekends, reporting 3 days a week, and did all kinds of things at the station. I was a morning show anchor for about a year. So stayed and did that for about 8 or 9 years, then went into PR, and then eventually founded my own PR business with another gentleman that I knew in the television news business by the name of Frank Guerra. And together for 14, 15 years, along with another partner, Tess Cootie, we formed a business called Guerra, DeBerry, and Cootie. Okay. And we were officed here in the heart of downtown, and that was in the early 2000s. And we had as many as 150 people. So did that for a while. I founded a second business that was just my own, and that was called the DeBerry Group. I had as many as about 27 people doing the same thing, but doing a lot of social digital, always in the crisis space. And then had worked on political campaigns behind the scenes for years, and then actually ran for county commissioner probably 5 years ago now. Okay. 11 people in that race came down to a runoff, and then COVID hit. And then I had to run a runoff during COVID, which I could write a book about campaigning. During a period of time, obviously there was incredibly stressful, for the entire world at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And
No
this
doubt.
community. But persevered and wound up winning that race. And I was a county commissioner for a year in that seat, and then ran for county judge. Did not persevere in that race, but learned a lot associated with that. And it's one of those things I love to talk about is failing forward. And no matter what, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on. And then wasn't sure what I was going to do because I had sold my business and then wound up here at Centro. So that's kind of a long story, but I've tried to abbreviate it a little bit regarding 30 or 35 years of working in this community.
And how long have you been here at Centro?
I had been here 2 years, a little over 2 years.
So tell us about Centro for folks that really don't understand exactly what you guys do.
Right. So we operate what is called a public improvement district, and stakeholders that live within the PID voluntarily assess themselves a percentage of their property taxes to pay into what we call the clean and safe operation in downtown. So when folks come into downtown and they see the yellow shirts that are sweeping sidewalks, watering plants, giving folks directions, those are our Centro ambassadors. So a majority of our budget goes to what we call the clean and safe operation. And that is the ambassador operation, of which we have about 130. It is a 24/7 operation that when you wake up in the morning and you see clean sidewalks and the birds are chirping and life couldn't get any better, right, in downtown, it's really part and parcel as a result of the great work that our ambassador operation does.
You call them ambassadors.
Yeah, every single day.
Yeah. Okay.
And the beauty associated with our operation is probably about 40% of our ambassadors come from what we call lived experience. And when I say lived experience, it is their first job out of sobriety. It is their first really transition in getting stable income out of being homeless. And so I'm incredibly proud of the operation. I'm incredibly proud of the work that our ambassadors do, not only for downtown, but for themselves on a very regular basis. So we have tried to create a culture of second chances associated with the operation. And like I said, I mean, I could not be prouder of the work that they do every day.
Talked about a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan. So what's your vision for downtown San Antonio?
Well, obviously, we have lots of catalytic projects that are happening throughout downtown. You know, we talk a lot about Marvel and the sports and entertainment district, and I'll come back to that. But some of the major projects that are coming online is the Alamo, really the redevelopment of the Alamo, opening 27, right? Maybe 27, 28, what that looks like. But, you know, the average stay at the Alamo from a visitor or even a resident that would go before they started the redevelopment was 7.5 minutes. Now, some of that is because it was a bit underwhelming from an experience standpoint, right? Because television and the movies make the Alamo look larger than life. And so 4 years ago, when somebody was coming to town and looking at the Alamo, and you've got folks that are thumping the Bible and screaming out there, and you've got Ripley's Believe It or Not and the Wax Museum and lots of, really the row of entertainment that existed. It was not the reverence afforded to the site that really needed to be afforded to, because the truth of the matter is you've traveled.
Sure.
If you go to the Battle of Gettysburg, if you go to the Holocaust Museum in DC, you know when you walk into those spaces automatically, like, volumes are lowered. I mean, you are deeply touched by what you see and what you hear. And so the beauty of what's happening at the Alamo is we have 300 years of history to be able to tell. But we really were not telling that story very well. So the hope is obviously with a 7-story museum that goes up, that when people walk onto the site, they feel it, right?
Sure.
It's palpable what's happened there. And not just only the battle that we hear about, but really Christianity that took place, Native American presence that was there, all of it. So the hope would be in downtown, somebody who in the past spent 7.5 minutes there may spend 3 days, right, at the Alamo. And what does that mean? More hotel stays, longer hotel stays. Then we have the investment by UTSA on the near west side of downtown. And really what education and more students pursuing undergraduate work in downtown, young people, backpacks, they drive demand for services, they want coffee shops, they want housing. So all of those things become very important to the ecosystem. And then as we talk about a new baseball stadium that's coming, what could happen with the NBA arena moving to downtown and basically bookending downtown with 2 sports facilities, along with what's happening at Hemisphere too. Like, we're creating suddenly a lot of momentum in downtown. So those catalytic projects are crazy important. However, we're also laser focused on housing, all types of housing. This country is undergoing a housing crisis. We know that. And San Antonio is not alone in that. But if we are providing really what we're doing in downtown from a momentum standpoint, we want people to be able to live and afford to live in downtown. So when we talk about housing, it is deeply affordable. It is affordable. It is market rate housing. It is student housing. For those students at UTSA, they're looking for somewhere to live close to where they go to school. It is workforce housing. What could we be doing with San Antonio Independent School District shuttered schools that have closed? Could those become affordable workforce housing units that folks that are working in the hotel and visitation industry can live closer to where they work? So we're doing a lot of work, and people talk about, do you ever get bored in your job? And I'm like, no, because that's the beauty of the job is it's something new and challenging every single day. And we haven't even touched upon what we're doing in the homeless space. So that's a big deal.
Never a dull moment, right?
Never a dull moment.
Plenty of balls in the air.
Yes.
Okay. What do you see as some of the challenges and difficulties or obstacles?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about one of them being parking, and that is a barrier to entry into downtown.
Right.
The number one complaint we get is, I don't know where to park. Whoever laid out the grid of downtown San Antonio must have been drunk because it's terribly hard to navigate. And then we had all this construction. So that has made it much more difficult. Now, good news is we have construction projects being completed. So that will help people navigate downtown better. But from a parking standpoint, my hope is that we're building a website based upon the research that we've done regarding parking in conjunction with the city of San Antonio. So you will be able to locate and map out where you're going regarding parking very, very easily. And then hopefully even reserve a spot. Like, some garages are $20. Some garages are $10. Like, the opportunity to be able to navigate that website if your parents live in North San Antonio, right? You want to bring them into downtown. Can you go on that website and say, hey, I want to park there, or I want to park there. Oh, by the way, I want to reserve my spot. Because that tells you exactly where you're going versus driving around in circles in downtown trying to figure out where parking is.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We do not have a problem with the number or the amount of parking that we have in downtown. We have a lot of parking that's in downtown.
Sure.
But we've got to make it more accessible to people. We've got to make sure that it's advertised better, but we've also got to figure out a way to be able to make it much more affordable for folks. So that's parking. Many people, when we talk about how important the clean and safe operation is to downtown, a lot of that is the homeless population that we have, which, by the way, during COVID, decimated downtown, right? The homeless kind of got very comfortable, took over downtowns, not just in San Antonio, but across the country. So what are we doing to get people to resource centers and get them off the streets? And so I'm on a homeless huddle call with our homeless resource system, 20 partners. Centro wasn't founded on the precipice that, or premise that we're going to tackle homelessness, but we've had to migrate into that space as a result of the problem that we have with mental health, the problem that this country has not done a good job addressing mental health in this country. So as a result of the magnitude of the problem, and also the fact that we do not have enough mental health beds in Bexar County. In fact, I would tell you, we really have zero. People say, no, that's not true. You have 60 beds, new ones out of the state hospital.
Mm-hmm.
We do have 60 new beds out of the state hospital, but those are what we call forensic beds. Those are folks that are coming out of the jail system, incompetent to stand trial, need to be evaluated, stabilized. They go to the state hospital. That's not somebody, when I walk out the front doors on Houston Street and I see somebody in desperate need of help, right?
Right.
That I can say, hey, come with me. I have a place for you to go. Let's talk about this. I can get you stabilized on medications. We can get you wraparound services. I do not have that option right now. So what does that mean? It means we have more people that are on the street. So I would tell you, huge compliment to the homeless response system that we have here in San Antonio and Bexar County, because we are doing yeoman's work in this space every single day. Yeah. I'm raising money from foundations to get respite care for those that are too sick, veterans that are on the street, that were at one time dying on the street because they had no place to go. Now, at least I have a respite care, right, opportunity for them to be able to die with dignity, because at the end of the day, I don't care how you feel about folks that are homeless and are on the street. They are human beings, okay? Nobody deserves to just die on the street. So I get on my soapbox because I'm really passionate about this issue.
Good. Yeah.
About mental health beds and what we're doing and what we're not doing.
Working with Haven for Hope at all? Or?
We work with Haven for Hope. We work with Cortisone Ministries. I work with CAM. We work with DHS over at the city, the whole continuum of care close to home. Yeah. We work with First Day Foundation, regarding, accessing foundation monies. We've got a mobile medical care unit, thanks to First Day, that's been deployed out onto the streets so that if some of our homeless population is sick with, for instance, bronchitis, they can be treated. Sure. So that it doesn't turn into pneumonia, and then they're not filling out the emergency rooms, right? So lots of work that I think we're doing in the space that really, I just was in DC leading a breakout session at the International Downtown Association just last week about what we're doing here in San Antonio regarding homelessness and really keeping downtown safer than it's ever been before. So we're proud of the work that we do here every single day. And I'm proud to be able to give a voice to those that may not have a voice. And that means a portion of our homeless population.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. We're here with Trish DeBerry, CEO of Centro. We'll be right back.
My name is Anastasio Caballero Hernandez. I was a man of simple beginnings, with calloused hands from hard labor and a heart full of words waiting to be spoken. Through cotton fields and restless nights, I dreamed of something more, of love, of family, of leaving behind a legacy greater than myself. These poems are my soul on paper, stories of perseverance, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Today, my daughter Consuelo brings these words to life in a way I could only have imagined. This is my heart, my story, my gift to you. Welcome to My Daddy, Poems from the Heart.
So, public improvement districts. First time I'd ever heard of that concept. But how do you collaborate with city council, private businesses, the mayor? Talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a little bit of both. Just from an edification process, like I said, the public improvement district is funded in large part, 80 to 85%, by the stakeholders that live within the boundaries of the public improvement district. So those boundaries are, we are bounded to the east and the west by the highway systems. Okay. We go as far south, taking a little bit of Cesar Chavez and a little bit of Hemisphere Park. And then we go as far north as like Brooklyn, near the new CPS Energy headquarters. stakeholders. So taking a little bit of River North down Broadway, but not all of it. So those are the boundaries of the public improvement district.
So it's really downtown. It's
It's the center city. It really is.
Okay.
Like I said, the true center city in the urban core. The stakeholders that live, businesses, residents, apartments, you name it, right? If they got a property tax bill, they voluntarily, every 10 years, were reauthorized, and we have to go to a vote at city council. And more than 50% of the stakeholders within the public improvement district, every 10 years, have to sign off and sign a petition and say, we support this. And this is a voluntary assessment on themselves. So it speaks volumes that we're still here, right? We got 85%, right, of the stakeholders to really reauthorize us 2 years ago. So we've got 8 more years before we go to reauthorization. However, we are not a body. My board is not appointed by the city council, unlike a Brooks Development Authority or Port Tech or others. We are rather independent, which is a good thing. So our board is comprised of developers, hoteliers, restaurateurs, small businesses all in downtown. And then the city manager of the city of San Antonio is an ex officio board member of our board. But the beauty of our board not being appointed by the city council is we can work in lockstep on things together when obviously we have firm belief that this is the right thing to do. But if we also feel like we're moving in the wrong direction, it gives us the ability to be able to oppose or at least say, hey, we need to talk about this, right? Because this isn't necessarily a great path forward. So let's sit down and tell you where we think we can improve and how we march forward and maybe strike a compromise. So, so it's a little bit about how we're funded and how we're structured.
So you maintain some independence and autonomy.
Yeah,
so
we do, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, it's a really good thing.
And you work with the mayor as well.
Of course, we work with the mayor, we work with city council, especially the city councilwoman currently elected to District 1, because District 1 is responsible for downtown, but also the neighborhoods around downtown. So regular meetings with not only city council, but regular meetings with chief of police, regular meetings with our bike patrol operation in downtown, regular meetings with our ambassador operation. Regular meetings with stakeholders. So it's constant communication regarding identifying what are the opportunities for downtown? What are the challenges that we're facing? How do we incorporate, which we did recently, we incorporated retired or former police officers into the ambassador operation. Why? Because they're branded a little bit different. They have safety on the back of them. They don't say security, but it says safety. But it sends a message, right, that we're taking safety very seriously in downtown. Plus, these officers that we've hired have 30 plus years of training in the art of de-escalation before things get to a point. Where violence might break out. And that training to our ambassadors has been invaluable. Not to mention the fact they get to work very closely, obviously, with the bike patrol operation in downtown. So that was one of the things that we talked about at the International Downtown Association, because we're leading the way in the country. Nobody's done this before. You've had cities that have hired private security firms in downtown, but never the integration of former or retired police officers or military police into their ambassador clean and safe operation. And by the way, they're not armed, right? Because the last thing we want to turn downtown into is a police state. So de-escalation and really how we're dealing with mental health and with homelessness, and it's proved to be very, very successful.
Very good. When you are planning a project, you involve the community, of course. So do you engage some of the underrepresented or underserved communities in planning?
Of course. We do that really with a majority of the projects, especially when it comes to homelessness, right? We engage stakeholders from across the board, those that have lived experience, those that have been in and out, right, of Haven for Hope or CAM. And I'm talking about this population in downtown because as we continue to serve that population and innovate in the space, we've got to bring them to the table. So But as we look at affordability of housing, who are we talking to regarding what is that price point? What does that look like? So the opportunity to be able to engage with, say, for instance, Councilwoman Castillo on housing needs on the near west side, which, by the way, the poorest area, 78207 is the poorest zip code in Bexar County.
78207.
Yeah, right behind the Bexar County Jail, which is on the west side of San Antonio. How do we continue to really build momentum and excitement in downtown, but also keep it affordable for folks? Free events, what does that mean from a housing opportunity standpoint? Although we talk about market rate housing and it's very, very important, what is the appropriate mix? And so constant conversations regarding what that looks like and really what that feels like too at the end of the day. So, you know, our ambassadors, obviously, and having conversations with them, many of them have lived in affordable housing and want to be able to live in a place in downtown that is nice to live in, but affordable, but also very close to work that they might be able to walk to work because transportation is a huge issue, right? So what are we doing in that space? And then we look at all the problems that we have associated with affordability of daycare. I don't have any daycares in downtown. How do we build that ecosystem, right?
Very interesting.
Because we have a majority of hospitality workers that are living to the south, you know, of San Antonio or to the west of San Antonio that have children. What could that look like if they could bring their children to a place that's safe, where they're learning their numbers, their letters, their days of the week, and getting ready for pre-K, versus having to struggle and figure out a babysitter, you know, at home or what that looks like. So, yeah, I mean, it's when we talk about like the challenges and the stuff that I love to be able to dig into regarding policy. My job is not about throwing parties every single day, right?
Okay.
We do a great job with that with activations and holidays on Houston, Wayavetta Fest during Fiesta. All those things are important to bring energy into downtown, but we're also digging very deeply into some very substantive policy issues, whether that's homelessness, whether that's housing, whether that's daycare systems, right?
Sure.
So to your point about
transportation.
Right, transportation.
Sure.
And really, how does downtown become more equitable for everyone? Right.
Okay. Have you ever made a decision about a project that was so controversial that it didn't really go well? And how do you communicate that to the stakeholders?
Well, I mean, I think we're living and breathing a little bit of that right now. As we look at baseball coming to downtown and really the NBA arena, not everybody's in agreement on bringing the Spurs back into downtown. Now, I'm going to advocate for it all day long because I believe in the transformation that could occur. And I also believe that as passionate as I am about bringing a sports and entertainment district, as well as what the Alamo is doing and UTSA's investment and all of it, I'm also just as passionate about what we're doing regarding infrastructure. So there will be another bond election, city bond election, where we will address streets, drainage, potholes, all of those things. So there are people that tell me, oh, she just wants, you know, the Spurs. That's not true, right? I'm about bringing more money into the urban core from visitors who will come here, because a lot of that money then goes into what? The city's general fund. Those monies are then used for general obligation bonds that are deployed during bond elections. So that means we have more money for streets, drainage, sidewalks, possibly affordable housing and what that looks like, right? So it isn't an either or conversation. I'm all about the capital A, capital N, capital D. I'm all about the and conversation. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes you have a target on your back because you're advocating for things that not everybody is necessarily on board with. But I learned a long time ago in running for office, you're never going to please all of the people all of the time.
Yeah.
All I can do is advocate, educate, try to bring people along. And at the end of the day, also strike an amount of compromise so that they believe that you're not just about one, I guess, option associated with how we innovate in downtown, but everything that's a part of the ecosystem. So anyway, I just think that One time I had to be escorted out of a meeting because, again, I had a target on my back because we were advocating for baseball, right? And somebody said, I don't think you ought to walk out of here without security. And I get it. We live, the issue, as you know, Cedric, is we live in a world today where sometimes it's not okay to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
The feeling or thinking is, if you're not with me, you're against me. That has to change. Like the art of compromise and agreeing to disagree. And I know there are a lot of people that hate that term, but we need to move into a space where we can have freedom of expression and we disagree with each other, but it doesn't mean we hate each other.
Yeah.
Right? That we love each other and support each other, but we may not agree on this topic. But baby, I'm going to walk lockstep with you when it comes to education, daycare, homelessness, all of those things that are incredibly important to elevating folks out of poverty, which we see here in San Antonio, and that the rate of poverty hasn't changed since 1987. What are we doing about that? I'm going to be just as passionate about that too.
Those are the issues we have in common.
That's right.
Versus the ones
that
we don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's another conversation for another day,
yes.
but we need to get there somehow.
I agree with you.
Very good. So we interview a lot of leaders on the show, and we've all kind of agreed leaders are readers. They typically have a go-to book, and that book is found on their nightstand. What book's on your nightstand?
Well, I still have Matthew McConaughey's Green Light.
Okay.
On my nightstand.
Okay.
So
good.
Which is deep, in some portions, but there are elements of that book that have spoken to me. But I'm also a voracious reader of history. And so any book I can get my hands on, especially relative to Abraham Lincoln, I love his story.
Big fan of history.
Yeah. I mean, Abraham Lincoln ran for office, 18 times before, he actually struck gold.
Right.
And then when you read about the Civil War, which was one of the bloodiest wars in history, and you read about how painful that was for him because he didn't believe in war, right? Or didn't want to, but also felt that slavery was wrong, and then was assassinated, right? As a result of those beliefs. And, his life, his story, his history, his firm belief in how this country was going to move forward and about freedom and freedom of not just human beings, but freedom of expression and what that's meant to the world today. And so, like I said, anything I can get my hands on, regarding Lincoln, or even I would tell you FDR, who was another great president too. So I've read a lot of the books about LBJ. Path to power, all of those things. But if you don't read about history, you're destined to repeat it. So, that's really, I think, what I get from those books is not just about leadership in tough times, but how we don't repeat the mistakes of the past.
An understanding of where we used to be.
Right. That's right.
We don't want to go back there.
We don't want to go back there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of all your projects, which are you most proud of?
My children.
Your children? Okay, good.
My children.
That's project, right?
My children are my favorite projects. Yeah. No.
What are
when we talk about what brings me joy, right?
Sure.
I love my kids, the most challenging job in the world, but the most rewarding job in the world. And if I am raising kind and decent human beings who will long outlive me, then I've done my job as a mom, right?
Yeah.
I want them to be independent thinkers. I want them to be able to make their way in the world, whether I'm here or whether I'm not here. But being a mother is a tough job. And I've been a single mother for the better part of 17 years. But it's also been, although I really enjoy my work and the projects that I do at work, I enjoy my kids the most. That's the most important part of what I get back from life is seeing them succeed.
Yeah.
So
of all the titles, mom is
the best title in the world, right? Like
I
said, the hardest title, but the most joyous title in the world.
Yeah. I say that about being a dad too.
Right.
Let me ask you this question. You may need to think about it for a minute. What's the one thing most folks don't know about you but should?
Oh gosh. I would tell people that it's easy to look at the person that I am and the person that I have become, and my path regarding leadership. But people will look at me and say she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, and nothing could be further from the truth. Youngest of 6 children, barely got by for a very, very long time. My parents divorced when I was young. It was hand to mouth for a long time. My mother suffered a mental health breakdown as a result of all the pressures associated with that. And so there's a point in my life where I felt like I was raising myself a little bit. Fortunately, obviously, was somebody who was very determined in life. And maybe that led to, I got praise at school regarding the work and the grades I was making, right? And so the attaboys became that much more important. And my mom recovered from that breakdown and went on to become a GS-13 in the military, right? Remarried and had a very happy life in the second part of her life, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And I owe a lot of my success to her, and not just about her supporting me in whatever I did or whatever endeavor, but also her struggles informed the person that I am today. God rest her soul, right? Yeah. She was an amazing woman. And we all go through those peaks and valleys in life. But I think part and parcel of who I am today is the struggles that made me who I am.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't know that story.
It's a very humble beginning that turned you into what you've become today.
Right? Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You're also a fitness fanatic, so a lot of folks.
Yeah, I am. I have a lot of energy, Cedric. There are a lot of people that look at me and have conversations and they're like, you exhaust me. Like, I see your presence on social media. I see what you do every single day. And my mind is always churning, right? Whether, it's here speaking to you today or right before I go to bed at night, which is sometimes where I do most of my best thinking, right? Even though we're supposed to turn it off, right? My mind is constantly going, hey, what more can we be doing? But I have to be able to get that stress out somewhere. And so I do it on a bike, not outside, but in a dark studio with a lot of really good music because I love to dance. Music brings me incredible joy. I mean, folks would think she gets in the car and she turns on NPR and is listening to news all the time, considering what she does. No, I'm turning up the music full blast. I'm dancing in the car, right? I mean, it's where I get my relief, and it's totally different genres of music. Like, I love to go to a spin class where they're playing stuff from the 60s, or it's Al Green, or it's Casey and the Sunshine Band from the 70s, or it's grunge in the 90s, or, what have you. Like, and then I listen to a lot of hip hop because my kids are 20 and 24. Yeah. So I listen to a lot of the music they listen to. But then I had older brothers and sisters, one that's 17 years older that was listening to Pink Floyd and Loggins and Messina, and a sister that was part of Peace, Love, and Woodstock. And, so I just like, my musical taste is across the board. And my kids will say, how do you know the words of that song? I mean, I have this weird affinity for lyrics. And so because the genres are so across the board or whatever, and I've got older brothers and sisters, there's a lot to love about music. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tricia, it's been a real privilege. Thank you for sharing your story.
No, thank you. Us. Yeah. We've talked about some serious stuff, but some fun stuff too. So Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all next time.